Yo, mission. This video is for Dina Cook. A request from Dina Cook. Thank you very much. Always a pleasure to see your comments. So this question is from her, and it is: are there any Catholic-inspired rituals, not just synchronicities, but actual rituals within Ocha, within Santeria, that has made its way into Ocha? And I was thinking about this. That's a good question. Okay, so a lot of times holy water is used for rogations. This is not across the board, but old way that a lot of people don't do anymore. Holy water was used for rogations. Holy water was used in Omiero. I recall seeing in the El Monte book, a woman, she would pray, I believe before doing sacrifices or just before servicing El Egua. This is from the Lydia Cabrera 1954 book. Before giving things to El Egua, she would recite an Our Father and a Hail Mary. Another woman, I believe it's perhaps Odeneidi or another woman, who would give offerings to Ochukwa, the moon, and would recite an Our Father and a Hail Mary. The one that would do the El Egua, the last lady, she would say the Apostles' Creed as well. What else? The imagery, of course, the Catholic imagery that's very, very common in Ocha. But to get to the point, as far as I know, if we're talking about true rituals that are implemented in Ocha that come from Catholicism, the answer is no. So it's funny that a lot of people, oh no, I want to get more into Isheshe because I want to get into more pure where there's zero Catholicism. But all of that stuff that we see, the influences of Catholicism, the influences of Islam during the Nangareo, during the war Alafia, the influence, I'm trying to think of as many influences as I can, the covering of one's Orisha during Semana Santa, the use of holy water for rituals. That's as important as that stuff is. It's honestly surface level stuff. And to get to the point of this damn video, Dina, the answer is no. There are no Catholic rituals within Lukumi. And I can promise you, in the actual Ocha room, there is no Catholic anything other than holy water that I said it gets used in rogations. For some people, it gets used in Omiero. For some people, if that's what they do. But there are no Our Fathers and Hail Marys and Apostles' Creeds, and that's not a thing in Ocha. It is a thing in Haitian voodoo. Let's see, the idea of going to the river. So it's no secret, the person who's going to get initiated has to go to the river to do certain things. We see a parallel between you go to, Jesus Christ in the River Jordan and being baptized in the river, and the imagery in Christianity and Catholicism of your old self dying, being washed by the water and symbolically cleansed of your old self. Your old self dies at the river, and your new creation, new being. Same concept in Ocha. You go to the river, a bunch of stuff goes on, a bunch of secret stuff goes on. I'm not going to say, but it's the same concept. Your old self dies, and you're reborn. And when you leave the river, after the ceremony at the river gets done, you leave your old self at the river, and the old self dies, and you're reborn a new creature. Very similar. That happens to be, at least from my perspective, a coincidence. The river and the symbol of water is almost universal. The idea of cleansing oneself from your old self, from your past, from any wrongdoings or whatever, just your old self, your past, and that gets left at the river and you're cleansed in the water. So that's a similarity, but I can tell you, there's no Ocho rituals at the river or the Ocho room where there's a bunch of Our Fathers and Hail Marys and Catholic, like actual Catholic rituals. There are Catholic influences that are sprinkled throughout the Santeria, definitely for sure. There's also something that some people don't do. I would say a lot of people don't do today, but the idea of taking the yawo to a church, to ileolofin. There's an actual Yoruba word for church, but Lukumi has a way of simplifying things. So instead of just saying church is like the house of God, ileolofin. Instead of saying the railroad track, they just say ileobun, because the word for railroad tracks in Lukumi is not known as far as I know. It does exist in Yoruba, I've seen it. I'm trying to memorize that word. In the event that a rogation has to go, maybe the person's a child of the boon, and you know what, hey, we said no to the garbage, no to the crossroads, let's ask the railroad track. And so it's good to know the Yoruba word for railroad tracks. That's beside the point. But there's this concept of taking the yawo to the church and having the yawo prostrate, either like preferably inside of the church, at the image of Jesus Christ, or having the yawo kneel at the image of Jesus Christ at the altar, and then the head is exposed to Jesus Christ momentarily, because we all know yawos got to keep their head covered, but the uncovered head is exposed in the church, and basically it's showing witness to Olofi, who is syncretized with Jesus Christ, and having Olofi being a witness. That's a big influence of Catholicism, but it's not a Catholic ritual. Understand the difference? So there's definitely influences. Covering your santos doing Santa Semana, that's an influence. Taking your yawo to a church to present the yawo to Olofi, that's an influence of Catholicism. The imagery of having a Saint Barbara picture on top of your chango, that's an influence of Catholicism. The idea of saying Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam, is an influence of Islam within the Nangareo that is in Lukumi. The idea being that chango is of the Fulani tribe, of the northern Yoruba tribe, of the Tapa or the Takwa tribe, and originally was Muslim, or at least had Muslim influence. That's an influence of Islam. The sand that's used for an angareo, since we don't have sand dunes like they do in the Middle East, we just put a little bit of sand, a little mound of sand, and that's where the nangareo takes place. That's an influence of Islam. It's arguable that, okay, Chango saw this being done in another land, and he saw that and wanted to replicate it, and that's how we have the nangareo to Oro. So it's arguable that is a Muslim ritual, but I certainly don't see no Muslims doing no nangareo. So I would argue that it's an influence of old Islam, because just the idea of holding up, giving offerings to the sun, who we call Olorun, who they will call Allah, that's not something that Muslims do today that I know of. Let me know if I'm incorrect. I would think that that's seen as, Muslims like super strict when it comes to having any image that represents God or Muhammad, peace be upon him. So that's not something that I see. I would think that would be seen as idolatry. So I would argue it's an influence of Islam to have the sand there, to give an offering to Olorun, what Chango saw the Muslims doing. And I say like loose Muslims because it seems like a pagan practice, an animistic practice to give offerings to the sun. That's an influence of Islam. But an actual Muslim ritual, an actual Catholic ritual. The idea of, let's say a Catholic ritual is the idea of communion. I can tell you right now, there's no communion in the sense of Catholicism. There's no communion of transfiguration and physical food turning into blood, or the body of Christ. That is not a thing. There are Catholic influences, there are Islamic influences within Santeria, but there are no Catholic rituals, like straight up take a ritual, take communion and put it into Ocha. You have to memorize your Apostles' Creed and put it into Ocha. Take, just those rituals. That there is none of that. And I think the irony is that I remember having a conversation with a Black American girl in the past, and she was asking me about Catholicism in Ocha. And I was saying how there's influences in Ocha and the imagery, and she said that, oh, well then, you know what? I don't want to be a part of it because I want it pure. I want more, basically just more black, She don't want no white influence. Now, I personally, I think that's ignorance. Because you have to understand historically, of why these certain things were implemented and placed in. And I think she said she wanted to get into voodoo or something. Haitian voodoo, or felt like calling, I don't know. And I was thinking to myself, ironically, there's more Catholic influence in Haitian voodoo than there is in Lukumi. Because in Haitian voodoo, they do say the Apostles' Creed, they say the Our Father, they say the Hail Mary before their ceremonies. And they have a lot more Catholic imagery. Because you see all the Loas, as far as I know, all the Loases have a Catholic counterpart as their main visual. There is no, like a Santeria, it's now we have these Chinese factory made, the little plastic eleguas, the one I'm talking about, the chagos and all this Chinese made shit that we see at Botanicas. I think it's a result of Ocha being simply more famous and people wanted to capitalize on the money, and a bunch of ignorant people buy those statues. But they're just works of art, they're just statues, they don't mean nothing. But in Haitian voodoo, all the imagery, as far as I can think of, maybe I don't know who they call Santa Marta, La Lubana, or whoever it is, that one with the snakes, what they would call her, they probably just call her Santa Marta. And they probably wouldn't even use that image. No, I know they use that image. I don't know who that would be. But other than that particular image, I cannot think of any other Haitian Loa that does not have a Catholic image to represent them. So there's a lot more Catholic influence and ritual in Haitian voodoo, which is ironic. I say it's ironic because I think a lot of people, and most people, think as Haitian voodoo as being more Africanized, more pure than Cuban Ocha. At least from my perspective. It's more gritty, it's I don't want to say dirty, but just, more raw. Haitian voodoo, that's the real deal. You want some real headache, you want some real work done, you want to get initiated into the real deal, you got to go to Haitian voodoo. The irony is, Haitian voodoo has a lot more Catholic ritual and influence than even Cuban Ocha. So that's just an observance. But short answer is, with all this yapping I'm doing, no, there are no Catholic rituals in Ocha. Only Catholic influences, only Islamic influences. But in the Ocha room, and for major ceremonies and sacrifices and whatnot, we don't know Our Fathers, no Hail Marys, no Apostles' Creed. The closest thing we get, as far as I can think of, the closest thing we get to true Catholic ritual is something that most people don't even do these days. It's something I do because I find beauty in tradition, is the covering up of your orishas the same way during Lent or Holy Week, and the cross inside of the church is covered in a white cloth or purple. I believe it's white though. And I take a white cloth and I cover all of my Orisha. So instead of a cross, it says Orisha. And it's a sign of respect for Jesus Christ. That's the closest thing I can think of as far as ritual. And even when that's done, as far as I know, I've never done it. If I read it in a book, maybe I'm still in the middle of reading Lidia Cabrera's El Mote. It was something I may implement if I read that in the book and I heard the person says, if Ochosi Odedei, Calixta Morales says a friggin' Our Father as she places that over her santos, that's something I would personally implement so I can keep things as traditional as possible. And be like, yo man, this is the way shit was done in the 1950s and 40s and 30s, and do that. I don't know if that's the case, I'm just saying. But I don't say no Our Father and Hail Mary, that's something my mom taught me. And you cover your santos up, just like they do in the Catholic Church. You cover your Orishas, and they cover the cross, the crucifix of Jesus Christ. And then on Easter, it's uncovered. Same thing. So that's the closest thing I can think of actual ritual. Other than that, there's just influences. I'm gonna shut up now. Thank you so much, Dina Cook, for being a contributing member of my videos, always having something, to say, and I really, really look forward to anybody and everybody's comments. And I know me and you, Dina, there's been things that I said that you disagree with, and that's what I love. You don't have to agree with everything. I personally, I like the Catholic implementations. I think it's beautiful. It represents survival. It represents the dignity that the old, the women from the 1860s had to be able to implement these things and survive. That was the main thing, survival. Because if they were too stubborn and said, nah, fuck it, we don't want to be a part of no Catholic stuff, we're going to keep things pure, there'd be no Ocha today. Okay? Or maybe we'd have some watered down New Orleans stuff. I don't know. But that's the beauty of just different mindsets and understanding different perspectives. So I hope you enjoyed this video, Dina Cook. Keep doing your thing. And if anybody else has any other video ideas and things you would like me to cover, let me know. Peace out.